Look, we need to talk about what's happening in Los Angeles right now, because it's absolutely insane. The Dodgers just won back-to-back championships, and instead of celebrating, instead of taking a breath, they're already making moves that have the entire baseball world losing their minds. I'm talking about moves that could change everything we know about how teams are built in modern baseball. So here's what went down. Shota Imanaga, you know him, the Cubs lefty who's been quietly dominant, just made it clear he wants out of Chicago. And where does he want to go? Los Angeles, the Dodgers. Now before you think this is just another free agent chasing a ring, you need to hear how this actually happened, because it's not what you think. There was a dinner, a private dinner in Los Angeles, just 4 people sitting around a table at some upscale Japanese restaurant in Beverly Hills. Shohei Ohtani, Yoshinobu Yamamoto, Shota Imanaga, and Andrew Friedman, the Dodgers president of baseball operations. No media, no cameras, just a conversation that apparently changed everything. And what was said at that dinner, according to people who know, wasn't about money. It wasn't about statistics or contract details. Ohtani looked at Imanaga and said something that hit different. He told him the Dodgers aren't just a team, they're a place where Japanese players can actually make history in Major League Baseball. Not just succeed, not just win, but literally reshape how the game is played and perceived. Think about that for a second. Ohtani, the guy who just had arguably the greatest individual season in baseball history, the man who hit the longest home run of the entire postseason at 469 feet. He's sitting there telling another elite Japanese pitcher that there's something bigger happening here. And Yamamoto backed him up, talking about how the Dodgers feel like family, how every detail matters, how the culture is built on mutual respect. Imanaga apparently just listened at first, taking it all in, and then by the end of the night he was smiling, shaking hands with Friedman, saying he wants to be part of it. Now let's talk about why this matters beyond just adding another good pitcher. The Dodgers are doing something unprecedented here. They're not just building a super team, they're creating an international empire. Since Ohtani signed that 10-year, $700 million deal, the Dodgers have seen their commercial revenue explode. We're talking merchandise sales in Japan going through the roof, broadcast deals expanding, the team becoming a cultural phenomenon in 2 countries simultaneously. When you add Yamamoto and then Roki Sasaki to that mix, you've got something special, but Imanaga would make them the first team in Major League Baseball history to feature 4 elite Japanese players at the same time. And Dave Roberts, the manager, he's been crystal clear about what he wants. After the World Series ended, he sat down with reporters and basically laid it out. He said, Ohtani's success, as incredible as it is, needs support. He needs a strong batting lineup around him, and he needs reliable pitching behind him. Roberts specifically mentioned they're targeting left-handed pitchers. That wasn't subtle. That was basically pointing directly at Imanaga. Here's what makes Imanaga so valuable. He's 32 years old, experienced, proven in Major League Baseball after his time with the Cubs. His numbers have been solid, consistently putting up quality starts, keeping his ERA manageable, eating innings. The Cubs decided not to exercise their club option on his contract, which honestly shocked a lot of people because he's exactly the kind of stable, reliable arm that contending teams desperately need. The reason the Cubs gave was salary related. His pay was set to increase significantly, and they apparently didn't think he was worth the investment. That's their loss and potentially the Dodgers' massive gain. According to multiple reports, the Dodgers have already had preliminary discussions with Imanaga's agent. Andrew Friedman, who's been brilliant at constructing this roster, came out and said something really telling. He said if a player is truly valuable, money is never an obstacle. He talked about building a sustainable empire, about respecting the spirit and determination of Japanese players, about wanting to build a dynasty that embodies that spirit. Those aren't just empty words from a front office executive trying to generate headlines. That's a philosophy, a blueprint for how they're approaching roster construction. The contract details being discussed are fascinating. 3 years, $48.5 million, with performance incentives based on innings pitched and individual performance. The structure would apparently use deferred payments, similar to Ohtani's deal, which would give the Dodgers more salary flexibility for other acquisitions. Friedman openly admitted this would push them over the luxury tax threshold, but he called it a worthwhile trade. Right now, Blake Snell is their only key left-handed starting pitcher, and Imanaga would provide balance and depth that they desperately need for another championship run. But let's zoom out for a minute and talk about what this really means for baseball. The Dodgers are essentially creating a model that other teams are going to have to figure out how to compete against. They're combining elite talent acquisition with international market expansion and innovative contract structuring. They're not just trying to win next year, they're building something that could dominate for a decade or more. And they're doing it in a way that respects and elevates players from Japan, creating a pipeline and a culture that makes Los Angeles the premier destination for Japanese stars. Think about the ripple effects. If the Dodgers pull this off, if they create this super team with Ohtani, Yamamoto, Sasaki, and Imanaga, what happens to competitive balance in the National League? What happens to teams like the Padres, the Diamondbacks, the Giants, who are all trying to compete in the same division? How do you match up against a rotation that deep, that talented, with that much international star power? And here's something else that doesn't get talked about enough. The cultural impact of what the Dodgers are building goes beyond baseball. They're creating representation, showing young Japanese players that there's a path to not just playing in MLB, but thriving, being celebrated, making history. Ohtani has already done that individually, but imagine what it means when there's a whole core of Japanese stars winning championships together in Los Angeles. That changes perceptions, opens doors, builds bridges between countries through sport. The business side of this is equally fascinating. The Dodgers are already seeing massive returns on their investment in Japanese talent. Merchandise sales have exploded, not just in Los Angeles, but across Japan. Broadcast rights have expanded. Sponsorship deals have multiplied. When Ohtani plays, stadiums fill up, television ratings spike, social media engagement goes through the roof. Now multiply that effect with 3 or 4 elite Japanese players all on the same team, all contributing to winning championships. The revenue potential is astronomical. But back to the baseball itself, because that's ultimately what matters. Imanaga brings something specific to this rotation that they need. He's a left-hander with excellent control, someone who can eat 150 innings a year, keep his ERA around 3.8 or better, and give you quality starts consistently. He's not flashy, he's not going to strike out 15 guys in a game, but he's reliable and smart and experienced. In a playoff series, having someone like that as your third or fourth starter is absolutely massive. It means your opponent can never relax, can never coast through a game because every pitcher they face is legitimate. And think about the playoff implications. The Dodgers just proved they can win when it matters most, back-to-back championships. But they also saw in those playoff runs where they need reinforcement. Starting pitching depth was tested. Bullpen usage became a concern. Having versatile arms who can handle pressure situations became critical. Imanaga checks all those boxes. He's pitched in big games in Japan. He's handled the pressure of pitching for the Cubs in a demanding market. He knows what it takes to perform when everything is on the line. Roberts has been public about his admiration for Japanese players' work ethic and mental approach to the game. He's talked about how Ohtani and Yamamoto prepare, how they study opponents, how they stay disciplined with their routines. Adding Imanaga to that mix creates a pitching staff culture that's built on excellence and preparation. That kind of environment elevates everyone around it. Younger pitchers learn from watching how these guys operate, how they handle adversity, how they prepare between starts. The timing of all this is also crucial. The Dodgers are coming off championships, but they know better than anyone that windows close fast in baseball. Injuries happen, players age, competition improves. That's why they're not sitting back and hoping to run it back with the same roster. They're actively looking to get better, to add pieces that make them even more formidable. That's championship mentality. That's what separates good organizations from great ones. Now let's talk about the elephant in the room, the luxury tax situation. The Dodgers are already over the threshold, and adding Imanaga's contract pushes them even further into penalty territory. Critics will say they're buying championships, that they're ruining competitive balance, that small market teams can't compete with this kind of spending. But here's the reality. The Dodgers generate revenue that allows them to spend like this. They fill their stadium, they have massive television deals, their merchandise sells globally, they're using their resources wisely to build a winner, and there's nothing wrong with that. Every team in baseball has the same rules, the same ability to spend if they generate the revenue. The Dodgers just do it better than everyone else. Friedman's strategy with deferred payments is genius when you really break it down. By pushing money into future years, they maintain flexibility in the present to add more talent. It's creative financial engineering that stays within the rules while maximizing the roster. Ohtani's deal was structured that way, and if Imanaga's follows the same model, it shows this is a systematic approach, not a one-time thing. They're building a framework for sustained success. The question everyone's asking now is what happens next? If the Dodgers land Imanaga, does that complete their roster, or do they keep pushing? Reports suggest they're still looking at the trade market for position players, possibly another bat to strengthen the lineup even more. They've been linked to several infielders and outfielders who could provide depth and versatility. The sense you get from the front office is they're not done, they're still hunting for ways to improve. And what about the rest of baseball's response? Teams are watching what the Dodgers are doing and trying to figure out their own counter moves. The Padres are reportedly aggressive in free agency, the Giants are looking to make splashes, even the Diamondbacks are exploring ways to upgrade. The entire National League West has become an arms race, and the Dodgers just keep adding more ammunition. For Imanaga personally, this decision makes complete sense. He's at a point in his career where winning matters more than anything else. The Cubs aren't contending right now, they're rebuilding, trying to figure out their identity. The Dodgers offer him a chance to pitch in the postseason every year, to compete for championships, to play alongside some of the best players in baseball. That's an opportunity you don't pass up. The cultural fit also matters. Being able to play with fellow Japanese stars, having that support system, understanding the language and customs, that makes the transition easier. Ohtani and Yamamoto can mentor him, help him adjust to being in Los Angeles, make sure he feels comfortable and supported. That kind of environment allows players to perform at their best because they're not worried about off-field distractions or cultural barriers. So where does this leave us? The Dodgers are building something special, something that could dominate baseball for years to come. They're combining elite talent with smart financial planning and international market expansion. They're creating a culture that attracts the best players and brings out their best performance. And they're doing it all while winning championships, which is the ultimate validation. This Imanaga situation is just the latest chapter in what's becoming an incredible story. One dinner changed everything. One conversation between players who share a culture and a dream sparked a move that could reshape the league. That's the power of connection, of vision, of understanding that baseball is bigger than just what happens on the field. We're watching history unfold here. The Dodgers aren't just trying to win games, they're building a legacy that will be talked about for generations. Whether you love them or hate them, you can't deny what they're accomplishing. And with Imanaga potentially joining Ohtani, Yamamoto, and Sasaki, this empire is just getting started. The rest of baseball better figure out how to respond because the Dodgers aren't slowing down anytime soon.